Hiya, it's me again. So from now on, I'm going to start adding these little, I guess you could say disclaimer in the beginning of every episode. Well, this episode contains heavy spoiler about a show called Love by Chance. Now, I think that I'm also going to start doing a new format where I kind of just review the show first. And then after I review it, I talk about all the things all the things I dislike about it. I think that would feel healthier for me. I think a couple of you said that would make the episode feel smoother all the way through rather than like the way I do it currently, which is like talk about a review and then talk about something I dislike. Either way, reviewing the show should be easier, and then talking about the things I dislike should be much, much easier. So I think I'm going to do that from now on. Also, I'm going to try from now on to just continuously speak and not have breaks between episodes like I used to, because I really don't see a point in them anymore. I mean, originally I was doing it because a lot of podcasts do it, but there's no one sponsoring me yet. And I guess we should worry about that when it gets to that? So I think, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do from now on. So, Love by Chance is another one of, I guess, Mame's big stories. I talked about this when I talked about Tarn Type and Tarn Type 2. Um, this is, I believe, a book in between Tarn Type and Tarn Type 2. I didn't read the books, so I'm not going to be able to tell you. Well, I did read the books, but my review isn't based off of the books, it's based off of the show. So I think I'm going to keep them separate because a lot of the stuff that happens in the book doesn't necessarily happens in the shows. So I'm gonna try to keep this as contained to the show as possible. I also don't think I'm going to review the books because those books are problematic. Yeah. So there are a few characters from Tarn Type that are in Love by Chance, but they're all played by different actors. I don't know if it had something to do with like the management team or the studio that originally was doing Love by Chance that was then doing. Because I believe well, they're all done online TV, but I believe, Love by Chance is done by GMM25 or GMM TV, because when you go look for them, you have to go through the YouTube site for Wabi Sabi, while, Tarntype is in Me Mind Why. Different studios, different companies, different production companies, I believe. Maybe that's why, like, the cast is entirely different. I think also a few keynotes were changed about characters, like, you don't see Tarn in Love by Chance, while you do see Type, because Type's character plays a minimal role in a couple of the episodes in Love by Chance. Either way, um, Love by Chance starts well, actually, no, let me give you some more background just so it's not confusing anymore. Um, I believe chronologically, Tarn Type happens before Love by Chance, and then Love by Chance happens after Tarn Type. Um, yeah, I think yeah, 100%. So Love by Chance takes place in the same universe, but the actors in Love by Chance are different than in Tarn Type. Don't ask me. I explained. Whatever. It's let me stop going back and forth. Um, Love by Chance starts with, I believe, Pete, who's this very um charismatic. Well, I wouldn't say he's charismatic, but he's super shy and super like soft, minimal character played by, I believe, Saint. Yeah, Saint plays opposite of Perth, who plays I. A I. I'm just gonna say I for the sake of pronunciation because I am not going to. Either way, um, the show is about I and Pete falling in love. I guess I is like from a poorer side of the town where he doesn't have that much money. And I don't remember if he was in the school because of a scholarship or something related to that, but I know it involved the sport, so he had to play a sport. I don't know, that's besides the point. The whole plot starts off with Pete meeting I because of a circumstance, and then the two of them like, slowly but surely start to, like, getting involved with each other and become closer and closer as the story goes by. Um, Pete is from a much wealthier part of the town, I guess you could say, like, Pete is fairly rich. Like, he, has his parents have money, and he comes from, like, a really like, a bigger upbringing, like a more richer upbringing than I does. I is hardworking, he's constantly and always, like, talking about, like, doing good and being better and doing these things, and, um, they have friends at school. um, I is in the same team as Type and Techno, but I believe at this point, Techno is already the captain of the team, and Type is taking a back seat because in Tarn Type, Type is the captain, while Techno is like begging the coaches to make him captain next season. At this point, Techno's the captain. I is one of the soccer players, and yeah, I think that's yeah, that seems like pretty much the story so far. Techno and Techno has a little brother in the show as well. I think they talk about his little brother in Tarn Type. I just don't remember seeing the little brother in Tarn Type except for maybe like a scene here and there. But Techno's brother is obsessed with Techno. That's a pair. Techno and Techno's brother's friend are a pair. I believe his name is Kingla. Kinkla, whatever. Um, Pete Pete is in the drama club, and in the drama club, he meets Tin, right? I think that's what it is. Or is he just friends with Tin because oh, no, I remember. So they have English class together, and Tin is kind of in one of those, like, spaces where they are friends because they both have money. Like, Tin and Pete don't really have anything in common. Tin's kind of a dick. Uh, Tin treats people very poorly because he thinks that they only wanna use him for his money and for his power, I guess, that he has because I guess his family is very well known. Literally, we find out that the whole backstory with Tin is, like, entirely insane. Those also, this is the part that really like, weirds me out about how Mame writes books, is that Tin's background has a book series related to his brother and their grandmother. That book series is apparently one of the worst, more messed up stories of the plot of, like, the whole, like, universe, and it literally propels, like, situations that happened to Tin as a kid that shapes him into being, like, the worst kinda human being. Well, not necessarily. He's not, like, the worst kind of human being, but he's just really shitty. Um, Can, who eventually ends up with Tin, is friends with I, who because they're both in the soccer team. Um, in Love by Chance, Can is, like, hyperactive, super loud, constantly trying to get people to buy him food. Your average teenager who just got into high school. You're like he's funny, he's adorable, the actor is adorable. The character I found a little annoying, but that's besides the point. Um, so Tin decides that because him and Pete have the same kind of, like, upbringing and money situation, that he needs to be with Pete because they would meld really well together because they both have money. So he starts going after Pete, not aggressively, but kind of like, periodically, until he realizes that Pete and I were kinda together. He then starts to kinda say things like, "Oh, well, he's poor and you guys shouldn't be together," and blah, 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 and all these things, which kinda, like, makes Pete dislike him a little bit, but they remain friends throughout the entirety of the show. Um, a lot of the situations that lead Tin and Can to be together happen because Pete is involved. So, like, there are situations where Pete and I are meeting and Tin is there, and then Can is there because of I, and then they kind of like start having this like really bad relationship with each other between Tin and Can. Like they fight a lot, they argue with each other a lot of the times. Um, Pete and I eventually get to a place where they um get closer to each other and they start dating. I believe Ice talks about how he never really thought he was gay, or he never really thought he would ever be with a man until he met Pete. It's like the relationship is very much that kind of like, I've always been straight, but I'm in love with this one guy who changed that about me. May writes a lot about that. Like, a lot of her characters tend to be very much that, like, a heterosexual man who never thought he would be with another man, and eventually they end up with a man. Besides the point. Um, I'm not really gonna talk about Pond. Um, Pond is Ai's roommate who's, like, a porn addict who eventually falls in love with this one poor girl from his class. Their character, like, the character isn't really necessary aside from, like, being a support team for Ai, which she desperately needs because, going through what he's going through with Tin and Pete and all of those other things is just a lot. Um, as the story goes by, we find out about Tum and Tar. Tum is I actually don't remember what Tum is in the college or if he's even in the college, but Tum is Tarn's ex-bandmate because Tarn and Tar dated. Tar is the same character from Tar and Type that had the issues with Long, where Long told him that, or convinced him that Tarn was gonna be at a hotel room, uh, convinces these 3 older men to drug and get Tar drunk and then rape him and record him. That whole spiel, that's the same character. But in this one, he's played by Earth Kuhart, who is absolutely the love of my life. Not the love of my life. I think of them more as a child I want to take care of and never let anything bad happen to, because they're the sweetest little people. They're the sweetest, most adorable, like, person. Like, they're listen, their Instagram is adorable. Their Instagram lives are adorable. Like, Earth must be protected. Kuhart must be protected. That's besides the point. We can talk about Kuhart later. Um, but yeah, so Tum and Tar are half brothers or step brothers. I think the father and the mother had 2 separate children, and then they met and they're together. A lot of Ming's writing is kind of that too, like the whole, like, in semi-incest, kind of incest relationship. I could be wrong. I think Tum and Tar might actually be half brothers. I don't know. I mean, it's very much like their relationship is weird because for the most part, um, Tum and Tar are kind of they're kind of like after the whole situation happened between Tar and uh Tarn and the rape, Tar kind of went down a bad path of like self-deprecation and self-loathing, to the point where he needed to get out of Thailand and to, I guess, get a new setting for himself. So he moved, I believe, to France. I think it was France. I just remember hearing a lot about pastries and cooking. I don't It's been so long since I've seen the show. So that happened to him, and then throughout the whole to throughout the whole show that we see Tum, it's just him being really sad that his brother's not around and having all these feelings towards his brother that he can't really process or understand without, like, overbearing his poor brother who just wants space. And then Tar feeling like he can't fall in love with anybody because he was raped by these 3 men, and he kinda feels like it's his fault. Well, not kinda, he 100% feels like it's his fault. He constantly blames himself for it. It's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have been there. This is my fault that all of this happened." Which I listen, that's the most messed up part about the whole thing. Like, yes, the rape is completely and totally awful, but the fact that he still lives with it every day and thinks it's his fault that it happened to him when entirely it's all Long's fault just breaks my heart for him, for the character. Um, Art plays a really good character, like, he does this character very well. Um, I guess that's pretty much the synopsis of the plot. It's literally A and Pete falling in love, and they're kind of like it's a cute romance. The story picks up a little bit after episode 5, where the drama between Pete and Tin, kinda elevates and escalates to where, like, basically wants to fight him because he Tin calls him disgusting, like, not disgusting, but, like, related to that word, like, they basically treat each other very poorly throughout the whole show, which eventually leads them to be together. Um, Techno and his brother's friend have the weirdest relationship. Techno is drunk one night, comes back home, and his brother's friend takes advantage of him, and they have sex while Techno's drunk, inherently sexually assaulting him because Techno completely feels grossed out by the whole thing after. And, like, it becomes this whole, like, where Kangla, the friend, I think that's his name, Kangla basically starts to, like, chase after him trying to apologize about what happened, and Techno's just being like, "Leave me alone, I don't wanna see you," which then eventually leads them to date each other. I don't know, I that to me feels weird. Um, Tin and Can, again, are abusive towards each other, and then they eventually starts dating because Tin realizes that Can is just I guess he can't stay away from Can because subjectively, as the show progresses, there's no real reason for the 2 of them to be together other than, Tin eventually realizing that what he's doing is really crappy and really shitty, so he, like, feels bad and starts to, like, delve and meld into a relationship with Can. Like, Tin's backstory from what I researched, is basically like his him and his brother were very close at a young age, and the grandmother hated the brother to the point that she would, like, beat him up and treat him like shit. Eventually, the brother and the father came up with this idea that in order for Tin to be truly free, they had to basically ostracize him from the entire family so that the abusive and possessive grandmother wouldn't, like, put her claws on him, sort of say, and force him into the family business. So what they did is they sent him off to the UK, I believe, and while he was there, convinced a bunch of people to, like, invite him to this party where they would, uh, get him drunk and then take photos of it and take videos of it and post it on the internet, and because his family is very powerful and very famous, the tabloids took a hold of it and spread it all over the internet. I guess then his brother convinced, I guess, a man who kinda looks like him to, like, release a sex tape where you couldn't tell if it was Tin or not, and then kinda blame him for that as well, like, spread it around the internet. You really find out about like, you find out about all of this throughout the show, but you kinda don't find out, like, the nitty-gritty details of it until you watch Love by Chance 2, which I'm gonna tell you right now, Love by Chance 2 is the worst show I've seen in my entire life. Not because the acting is bad or because whatever, but whoever wrote that script, that person needs to, like, reassess their life situation and think about what they've done. Because, oh my god, not only did they retcon the entire relationship that happened in Love by Chance season 1, they literally took out all the best moments that involved Pete because okay, I think I've talked about this before, but, when Love by Chance 2 got picked up, Saint and Perth's management team were having a fight. That fight escalated, a bunch of lies and insults about Saint, which then led Saint to not want to be a part of not Saint, but that, like, basically, Perth's management didn't like Saint or didn't like something related to Saint, so they spread all these rumors about him, which then pushed him off the project, which when season 2 came out, they literally completely removed the character from the show, played up this whole thing about, like, Pete's father found out about Pete and I and wanted to ruin I's family's business. They owned a small restaurant, by the way. I think I forgot to mention that. Wanted to ruin I's parents' life or, like, ruin their business, so he told Pete that unless he goes to school abroad and stops talking to he'll literally, like, ruin the whole thing, which then obviously Pete being in love with was like, "I'm not gonna let you do that, I'll do whatever you want." So they break up, and then Pete goes off to school abroad somewhere. I think it's America, maybe the UK, don't remember. A lot of subtext. So the entirety of season 2 of Love by Chance, A Chance at Love, is just Pete being depressed the entire time and Tin and Can's relationship going back to how shitty it was. Like it never happened. Like they never got together by the end of season 2, and they kind of retconned the whole thing up until like episode 8 or 7. At those 2 episodes, 7 or 8, I believe it's 7, it could be 7, then the relationship starts picking up again, and it goes back to how it was in the original TV show. Listen, I hated every second of those episodes. The writing was bad. They forced poor Can to over dramatize more than he was in season 1. They forced the, character of Tin to be, like, extremely more aggressive and more, like, awful towards Can the entire time. Techno, I don't even think I remember Techno in season 2. That's how bad it was, that I was so angry that I don't even remember any other character. I it's best either way. Um, Tom and Tar's relationship in the show was a lot that I didn't want to deal with, because there was a lot of just angst of Tom being like, "Why won't he talk to me? Why can't he talk to me? He's my brother or my lover." I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But, they're basically like, "Oh, well, he's my brother, so I can never fall in love with him, but I have all of these closet feelings towards him, so I'm gonna keep those to myself." And he doesn't. He just basically starts telling him like, "I care about you. I love you, blah, blah, blah." And then Ty's like, "Listen, um, I'm not emotionally stable to have a relationship with anybody, let alone with you. I do have these feelings towards you, but I need to focus on myself. Yeah, I need to like worry about me." Which which he does. Like he worries about himself and eventually after coming back to Thailand, goes back to where he was so that he could focus on his studies and try to like keep himself at a good mental health state. Um yeah, so that happened. Um after after some time goes by, we find out that Techno and Kengla are kind of getting close, even though all of that bad stuff happens between the two of them. Uh, and that to me was just a weird relationship to begin with. Eventually, they get together. They end up being a thing after Kengla like beats him down. Not physically. Like there's no assault. There's no physical violence. But like Kengla is so persistent, it eventually wears Techno down and they end up together, and that is how the relationship, I guess, continues from there. Because I believe in Time Type 2, Techno talks about having a boyfriend, but we never see him. And that's because in the original show, Love by Chance, and then maybe a Chance by Love, I mean, Love by Chance and then Chance at Love. I don't remember Techno and Chance at Love. That's I'm not even gonna pretend. But yeah, that's because the two of them are together. Um, Now, these are the couple of even though I said a bunch of things that I was like, about, these are the real things that I'm super not okay with this show specifically. Um, the abuse that some of these characters constantly go through emotionally. Like, I understand it's drama, and I understand a lot of it is, like, written for a dramatic lens, but, like, the whole thing about Tin going to like, the whole thought behind Tin's father and brother to ruin his reputation so that the family doesn't like grab him and force him into the family business is really weird because I feel like at that point, why not just fight? Right? Not like physically fight, but like put your foot down and establish boundaries with the grandmother. I understand that she's got all this power and she has all of this whatever, but I feel like at a certain point, you're doing more harm to this person than good. Like you ruined his reputation. Like regardless, like wherever he goes to work or wherever he wants to live and do things with his life, like he will forever be known as the college or high school student who got drunk, did all these drugs, and posted a video of himself having sex. I At the end of the day, like, that doesn't sound good for anybody. Not even, even if he's cocky about it or whatever, that's not a good look. I mean, I'm glad he eventually found somebody like Can who can understand where he's coming from and, be with him for who he really is and not what he sees, but, like, the whole point is, like, judgment of family, judgment of this, but, like, what about judgment of a person's life? I That whole thing was insane to me, and I wish it was written better, but it wasn't. Techno and Kangla's relationship, well, Kangla Techno, because I believe Kangla is the top. That whole thing was extremely unnecessary. He waited until Techno was at his most vulnerable state and took advantage of it and had sex with him. And then Techno is fully grossed out by the whole thing the entirety until he eventually just isn't. I don't think that's okay. Like, you sure, he was remorseful, sure, he felt like, "Oh, I get it, I'm so sorry, I didn't understand it at first, but now I do." But still, like, he was so persistent, he was really creepy too, like, he would trade things with Techno's brother, like, trade items and things that the brother wanted to, like, for, like, pictures of Techno or things that Techno had. Like, there was even it wasn't good, like, that whole thing is not good. Um, Super aggressive and super awful. Like, I don't want Techno to be with a person who, like, sexually, like, harasses him and then chases him down to the point that it wears his patience thin, that he's like, "Leave me alone." It was a lot. Um, I mean, Tumtar's relationship, I already talked about this in my Tarn type video, is just beyond, like, awful. Not the 2 of them, but, like, Tar going through what he did, getting gang raped, and then having that over his head with the video, and then his brother not know oh, that's the other thing, he'd never told his brother. His brother had no clue about any of this. He fully was, like, unaware of why his brother was feeling the way he does. He just knew that his brother was going through something, and throughout the whole show, which is the part that I feel bad for Tom, he feels like he can't do anything, he doesn't know what to do. It's also really crappy because he treats Tarn really shitty because he thinks it's Tarn's fault. Like, he fully believes that the breakup between Tar and Tarn is what made Tar act the way he does. So he fully blames Tarn for it, even though Tarn had no clue what happened and wasn't even at fault. I think what really, like, hit the nail on the head was that Tar was, like, being distant towards him, and they used to be so close as brother and brother, and that really and, like, Tom couldn't handle that, like, at all, in any way. The writing for season 1 was decent. I can't tell you any memorable thing aside from scenes between Pete and I. Oh, right, there's a specific scene where Pete and I are having a moment on the couch because Pete eventually bought his own apartment. Oh no, so much money. Bought his own apartment and I was staying over and they were, like, making out, and I brings up the fact that he has a boner. But can I say that? Boner? I'm not even gonna try. That he has a boner. And, Pete is, like, excited because the day before they, like, not the day before, but, like, the week before, he I promised Pete that they would have sex eventually because Pete wanted to have sex. So that day where they were going to meet, Pete prepped himself. Like, he cleaned out, douched, all of this stuff to, have sex with his boyfriend. And then I kinda backs out at the last minute because he thinks that Pete doesn't want it or because he's gonna hurt Pete. So he fully is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll stop," which then leads to this really cute moment where Pete is, like, throwing a small little fit on the bed with his blanket over his head, and I was like, "What's wrong? What did I do?" He's like, "Well, you promised you would have sex today or, like, a week after the day, and then we didn't have sex, and you're, like, really mean to me because, like, you're talking about you were, quote, unquote, 'excited,' but I was also, quote, unquote, 'excited,' and I really wanted to have sex." And it was, like, the cutest little scene because, like, they really it shows you how, like, truly they care about each other and how Pete and how not Pete, how I is so worried about hurting him that he doesn't want to do anything that might hurt him, and he knows that having sex with him the way that 2 men have sex will be sort of painful, and he doesn't even want him to feel that kind of a pain. Um, yeah, it just shows how much I cares about Pete, and throughout the whole show, it's just very much that. Honestly, I feel like everyone should have a boyfriend like I. This man takes care of Pete, is worried about his emotional stability, is worried about his safety, constantly wants him to be happy, does everything he possibly can, even though he doesn't have any money. Like, he's not a rich man, he doesn't have a lot, but he provides as much as he can for Pete in an emotional level that anybody deserves. I feel like everybody should have a boyfriend like 100%. Like, if the universe is ever hearing me, you hear me, universe? Everyone should have a boyfriend like I. It's such a sweet, sweet character. That's the only good thing that was written by Mame, I guess, because this character is top notch character. But I think that's it. I think that's pretty much. Oh, right. No, I am gonna talk about Pond. Pond's character is disgusting. That man is obsessed with porn. Not just any kind of porn, but like girls who like are expressive and moan loudly. Listen, I just will not understand what is the purpose of it. But it's just the most aggressive kind of character. It's played by Yacht, which listen, I love Yacht. He's a great actor. He can play anything from what I could tell. But him in this show, ooh, mm-mm, aggressive, physically bearing, like, just cannot tolerate him whatsoever. The jokes aren't funny. Everything's just sex about it's even when he gets his girlfriend, he's still kind of like aggressively sexual, and it's just not funny for me. I mean, well, no, okay, I won't deny it's funny. The comic relief for the character is funny, but man, is he a pervert. He is such a pervert, you guys, like a perv, like a perv. Not acceptable. Um, Samantha is in it. She is literally a goddess. I'm not even gonna deny it. She plays Bo. She eventually gets a little boyfriend who's cute. Not besides the point. But she is the sweetest girl in the world. Like I follow her on Instagram and TikTok and all these things, and she's just beyond sweet. Obsessed with her. But I guess every show that she's in is kind of successful because this show was eventually very successful. But she's great. Um, but yeah, I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. I think that's it for this episode. Um, like I said, Type's character isn't much in the show. We don't even see Tarn. There are specific scenes where not we hear, but we know that Type is talking to Tarn on the phone. Oh, he brings up Tarn because him and Tar have a relationship. When Tar first comes back to Thailand, he contacts Type first before contacting anybody because they're so close. But yeah, besides that, I think that's pretty much all I'm gonna talk about with this show. Um, I think I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10. Not because it's bad, but because I just didn't like the writing for it. Um, the acting was decent. It wasn't anything, out of this world great. Um, Saint and Perth have really good chemistry, so I can't fault those two. They're great. Kinda sad that kinda sad that Saint wasn't in, A Chance at Love, because I feel like that would have added a lot more to the show. They probably wouldn't have retconned all of Tin and Can's relationship. Um, Mean, the actor who plays Tin, he's okay. Like, I don't see the appeal that everybody seems to have about him. Not that I'm saying he's a bad person by any means. I mean, he's had some, like, anti-gay controversies, which I don't really know enough about to comment, but he's not that great of an actor in this. Can's character was overbearing. I don't think it's anything to do with the actor. I think whoever wrote the script and whoever the director was basically forced this poor dude into being as more dramatic than it was expected him to be. The character itself is great though. I don't have any uh like bad thoughts about him except for him being overbearing and loud. But even then I can tolerate all of that because it provided a point because that's just who the character was. Didn't like the character of Kingla, thought he was creepy and weird, and the whole rape thing really threw me off. The actor who they picked to play Techno in this show, I liked the guy from Type a lot better. I thought he was a much better Techno than this one, even though that's also like a controversial opinion to have from what I've been hearing. But I really liked the guy from Type playing Techno more than I like this guy playing Techno. Um, Also liked the guy who played Tom from Type a lot more than the actor who plays Tom in Love by Chance. Not because there's anything wrong with their acting. It's just I felt like they played two different characters, and the character from Type seemed more realistic. I believed him more than I believed Tom. Again, Earth Kuhart is beauty incarnate. Love them so much. So much power for them. I want them to succeed in everything that they do. Obsessed with them. Love them so like I have nothing negative to say about them. The characters that they pick are also always great. They're such a great actor. They act so well. So much respect for them. I hope they have way more jobs in the future. I hope they do way more things in the future. Well, they are in a TV show coming up called My 12%. Don't know anything about it. Don't know if I'm gonna watch it, but I probably will because Earth is in it. Cool heart. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, oh, I do have a question for you guys. How would you guys feel if I started doing episodical reviews where I watch like one of the BLs that are on right now that are airing every week and do like a review for each episode and give you my opinion on them? Not sure if that's something anybody would be interested in. Um, I think I would be into that. There's a lot of BLs that are coming out this year that I'm more than happy and into. A lot of Korean ones, a couple of Japanese ones that I kind of want to watch. Season 2 of A Man Who Defies the World of BL should be coming out within the next month or 2. Maybe I should reveal that one too. I don't know, whatever it is. If you guys think that's a good idea, let me know. I'll probably post a link to this podcast on Reddit, and if I do, you guys can reply on it on there if you guys caught me from Reddit. And if you don't, you can reply to me at angry about BL on Twitter. Um, but yeah, again, I take any criticism as long as you come to me with respect. Negative, good criticism, completely accept all of it. I hope you guys like this episode. Hope you guys like this new format where I just talk, you know, progressively and don't really stop. I hope this new way of reviewing is also interesting, even though I couldn't keep myself from commenting on things that I was like strongly about, but I hope that's enough. Hope the review is enough. Hope I'm not rambling throughout the whole thing. And even if I was, it was entertaining for you. Um, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next week, but I hope it's something fun. Maybe I should talk about shows that I like instead of shows that I can't really seem to understand or can't really seem to like that much. Maybe I should do that. Maybe instead of just doing angry about BLs, I should do something like in love with this BL. I don't know, whatever it is. Yeah, I hope you guys like it. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. This is really something fun that I thought I would do, and I'm really glad a lot of you seem to like it. And yeah, thanks for, supporting me, I guess, and listening to me ramble on. I'll see you guys later.